My own sister's children were dumped on my doorstep with a note that read, "Your problem now." I, Ethan, 34, haven't spoken to my mother, Gloria, in 8 years. The silence began after my father, Henry, passed from a stroke 10 years ago. His death left a crater in our family. But the final split between my mother and me happened 2 years later, and all revolved around my younger sister, Diana, now 37. Diana had her first child at 20. I was 17, a senior in high school, working part-time at a hardware store and saving every cent for trade school. I wanted to be an electrician. Diana called me one evening, her voice thick with tears. She needed a loan. Her beat-up car had died, and she had no way to get to her waitressing job or take her daughter, Sophie, to daycare. The amount she asked for was my entire savings, the money earmarked for my first semester's tools and books. I'd just been accepted into the program. I explained this to her, my voice shaking. I told her I was sorry, that I wished I could help, but that this money was my only chance to start building a future. I suggested she ask our mother or look into a bus pass. The line went silent. Then she hissed, "You're just like Dad, all about your own plans, never about family." She hung up. The next morning, Gloria called. No greeting. "You will help your sister," she stated, her voice like iron. "We do not turn our backs on blood." I was stunned. I reminded her of a time, just months before my father died, when I'd asked her for a small loan to fix my old laptop. I needed it for an online certification course. She'd refused, saying, "Ethan, you need to learn self-reliance. We can't cushion your every fall." I threw those exact words back at her. Why is Diana's fall different? The explosion was immediate. She screamed that Diana's situation was a crisis, a matter of survival for a child, while my wants were frivolous. I lost my temper. I shouted that she had always coddled Diana, that she'd never held her accountable for a single reckless choice, that she was ensuring Diana would never be a functional adult. I accused her of seeing Diana as her favorite, her golden child, and me as an afterthought. "You've always loved her more." I finally yelled, the words tearing out of me, raw and painful. The line went dead. That was it. 8 years of silence. We'd see each other at a cousin's wedding or a distant relative's funeral, orbiting the same room with cold, averted eyes. The wall between us felt permanent. Diana's life, as I heard through the family grapevine, was a chronicle of chaos. She drifted through a series of men, each worse than the last. She had 2 more children, a boy, Jake, now 8, and a girl, Mia, now 5. Different fathers, neither present. Diana cycled through jobs, retail, cleaning, telemarketing, never lasting more than a few months. She was a permanent resident in Gloria's house, in our old family home, a sprawling but worn-down 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Gloria, living on a modest pension after my father's death, somehow always found the money to bail Diana out, to buy groceries, to cover a missed rent payment. 3 weeks ago, my phone rang. An unknown number. A cold dread settled in my stomach. I answered. It was Gloria. Her voice was thin, strained, devoid of its usual commanding tone. "Ethan, Diana's gone." She explained that Diana had left the kids with her, saying she was going to pharmacy for Mia's asthma medication. That was 5 days ago. She never returned. Later that night, Gloria received a text. "I can't do this anymore. They're better off with you. Don't look for me." Then nothing. The number was disconnected. Gloria sounded old and terrified. "I'm 70, Ethan. My arthritis. I can't chase after a 5-year-old. I can't afford this. The house needs repairs. The bills. My savings will be gone in a year." She took a shuddering breath. "You have to take them." I live with my partner, Anna, 33. We've been together for 4 years. We share a compact, two-bedroom condo in the city, a space that is perfect for the two of us and our lazy rescue cat. We are both architects, working long hours to establish our own small firm. We talk about children someday, but it's a maybe in 5 years conversation. A dream tied to a bigger home, financial stability, and mental preparation. I can't, Gloria, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. We don't have the room. We don't have the capacity for this. It wouldn't be fair to the kids, or to us. You have a house. You have the space. The transformation was instant. The fear in her voice evaporated, replaced by pure, scalding fury. You selfish boy. After everything, family is supposed to step up. Diana is in crisis, and you're worried about your space? She launched into a tirade, dredging up our old argument, accusing me of holding a grudge, of being cold and unfeeling. She said I was abandoning my niece and nephews just as surely as Diana had. If our situations were reversed, I would never hesitate, she roared. You're right, I said quietly, exhaustion washing over me. If our situations were reversed and I'd abandoned my children with you, you have no choice but to call the authorities. Maybe you should do that now. I ended the call. The bombardment began almost immediately. Gloria had mobilized a family. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't heard from in a decade began calling and texting. My phone buzzed incessantly with guilt-laden messages. They're just innocent children. How can you sleep at night? Your mother is struggling. Be a man. Blood is thicker than water, Ethan. Anna was my rock through it all. She held me when I shook with anger and frustration. We talked for hours, circling the same impossible dilemma. We concluded we could offer some financial support, a fixed monthly sum for the children's needs. But taking them in, it felt like a seismic shift that would shatter the life we'd built together. I also did something Gloria refused to do. I called Child Protective Services. I reported Diana as a missing person and the children as being left in the care of an elderly relative who might be struggling to meet their needs. I gave them all the information I had. The caseworker was polite, non-committal, and said they would look into it. I heard nothing back. I eventually blocked Gloria's number and the numbers of the most persistent relatives. The silence that followed was a relief, but it felt fragile, like the calm before a storm. The storm arrived yesterday. I was coming home from the gym, my headphones in, when I saw a familiar, dusty sedan parked haphazardly in my building's visitor spot. Gloria was standing by the main entrance, her arms crossed. She looked older, more diminished than I remembered, but her eyes burned with fierce, familiar light. I stopped a few feet away, pulling out my earbuds. Gloria, you shouldn't be here. We need to talk, Ethan. Really talk. Her voice was lower now, controlled, which was somehow more unsettling than her yelling. I said everything I needed to on the phone. My answer hasn't changed. This isn't about the children right now, she said, which surprised me. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. It's about us, about why things have always been so hard between us. She started to talk, and the world around me seemed to recede. She spoke about my father, about their early marriage. They were young, idealistic. Henry was a talented musician who played in local jazz clubs, dreaming of a recording contract. Gloria wanted to be a teacher. They had Diana, and their dreams simply adjusted, folded around this beautiful, planned-for baby. You were a surprise, Ethan, she said, her gaze direct and painful. A huge, terrifying surprise. We were barely scraping by. Another child. It meant Henry had to give up the gigs that didn't pay enough. He took a full-time job as a sound technician at a local theater. Steady hours, steady pay, but his soul, it dimmed. I had to give up my teaching certification program. I took a job as a secretary. She took a step closer. We loved you. Don't ever think we didn't. But you represented the end of a dream, the closing of a door we weren't ready to see shut. Diana was our hope. You were our reality. A hard, demanding reality. And I know, I took that out on you. I was stricter. I expected more. I resented you for needs that were just normal. And I coddled Diana because she was the last piece of that dream we had. The admission hung in the air between us. It was confession I had always felt in my bones, but had never heard articulated. It explained a lifetime of sideways glances, of praised achievements that felt like obligations met rather than celebrations, of Diana's tears always trumping my quiet struggles. I am so sorry, Ethan, she whispered, and for the first time I saw a genuine, unvarnished pain in her face. I failed you. I have carried this guilt since the day you were born, and it only got worse after your father died. I think he felt it too. I leaned against the brick wall of my building, feeling unsteady. The anger I'd held on to for so long didn't vanish, but it morphed, becoming something heavier and more sorrowful. I need time to process this, Gloria. This is a lot. She nodded, looking defeated. I understand. Just please think about it. About everything. She turned and walked back to her car without another word. I went upstairs and poured it all out to Anna. She listened, her hand on mine. It's a powerful apology, she said carefully. But, Ethan, an apology doesn't create space in our condo. It doesn't make us ready to parent 3 traumatized children. And the timing, it's very convenient, isn't it? Her words were a cold splash of realism. The apology felt true, but the context, her desperation, cast a long shadow. After days of thought and discussion with Anna, I sent Gloria a long email. I thanked her for her honesty. I told her explanation gave words to a childhood of quiet loneliness, and that while I appreciated the apology, it didn't erase the past or instantly rebuild a relationship. I reiterated, as gently as I could, that we could not take in the children, but reaffirmed our offer of financial help. I ended by asking for space and time, stating that I would contact her when I was ready to explore if we could have some kind of future relationship. She did not reply. For a week, there was only silence. I started to believe, foolishly, that she had accepted this. I was wrong. Last night, the pounding on our door was so violent I thought the wood would splinter. I opened it to find Gloria, but the woman from the parking lot was gone. This was the furious mother from our phone call, her face contorted with rage. Time? Space? She spat before I could speak. You dismiss a lifetime apology with a request for time? Gloria, please, not here. I tried to block the doorway, but she talked over me, her voice echoing in the hall. I laid my soul bare to you. I admitted my worst sins. And you send me a form letter about space? She was shaking. Your father killed his own dreams for you. He worked in that dank theater until his body gave out for you, and you can't even open your home to his grandchildren? Diana at least has the excuse of being broken. What's yours? That your condo isn't big enough? That it doesn't fit your aesthetic? Each word was a hammer blow. The old wound, now freshly explained, was being ripped open with deliberate cruelty. My father's choices were his own. I shouted back, my control snapping. And your choices were yours. Your apology wasn't a magic wand. You don't get to vomit up decades of neglect and then demand I fall in line because it's convenient for you now. That's not how this works. You ungrateful, heartless bastard, she screamed. The insult, so primal, so final, hung in the air. After all we sacrificed, you were a mistake we paid for every single day. And this is how you repay us? By turning your back when we need you. That was it. The final thread snapped. Get out, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Get out of my home. Now, if you ever come here again, I will call the police and have you arrested for trespassing. We are done." The hatred in her eyes was something I will never forget. She turned and stormed down the hall without another word. I closed the door, my heart pounding, and slid to the floor. Anna knelt beside me, wrapping her arms around me. "It's over," she murmured. "It's finally, truly over. And it's not your fault." The formal severance came a week later via a terse letter from a law firm. Gloria was disinheriting me. Everything, the house, her meager savings, personal effects, would go to Diana and, in trust for the children. I felt nothing but a hollow finality when I read it. I had expected nothing, and now it was confirmed. I threw myself into work and into planning a future with Anna. We started seriously looking at houses, not as a distant dream, but as a tangible plan for our family, on our terms. The drama with my family became a painful, closed chapter. Then, 2 months after confrontation, I received a voicemail from a social worker. Her tone was professional, but carried a note of weary relief. Diana had been located. She had been living in a shelter in a city 2 states away, suffering from severe, untreated postpartum depression that had spiraled into a psychotic break after Mia's birth. The disappearance was, in her fractured mind, an act of mercy. She had received crisis intervention, was in a structured treatment program, and, after a court-mandated evaluation and parenting plan, was being reunited with her children. They were all returning to Gloria's house, with intensive in-home support services. I felt a profound wave of relief for the children and a distant, complicated pity for Diana. Her crisis was real, even if her method of dealing with it was catastrophic. For Gloria, I felt nothing, just a blank space where family used to be. It has been a year. Anna and I closed on a house last month. It's a fixer-upper with a big yard, in a neighborhood with good schools. It needs work, which we're designing together, room by room. Our firm landed its first major contract. The future we are building is ours, brick by brick, choice by choice. I heard through the last tenuous family connection, a well-meaning but gossipy cousin I hadn't blocked, that Diana is still living with Gloria. She's on medication, seeing a therapist, and working a cashier job. It's a fragile stability, but it's stability nonetheless. The children are in school and therapy. Gloria, the cousin said with a sigh, is exhausted but managing. I never responded to the disinheritance letter. I never unblocked Gloria's number. The last time I saw her was in a fleeting, accidental moment at a grocery store across town. I was in the produce section, selecting avocados. I looked up and saw her at the end of the aisle, pushing a cart with a little girl. Mia, I presumed, sitting in the seat. Mia was chattering, holding a box of cereal. Gloria looked up, and our eyes met across the expanse of polished linoleum. There was no anger there anymore, no pleading, just a deep, exhausted recognition, and then a flat, empty dismissal. She looked away, murmured something to the child, and turned her cart down another aisle, disappearing behind a display of soda. I stood there for a moment, the cool avocado in my hand. I felt a sudden, unexpected rush of sadness, not for the relationship we never had, but for the tragic, twisted script we had both been forced to perform for so long. The script was finally over. The curtain had fallen. I placed the avocado in my basket, took Anna's hand, she had been comparing melons, and we walked toward the checkout. We paid for our groceries, loaded them into our car, and drove home, to our house, our life, our quiet, chosen peace. The silence now is not fragile. It is solid. It is ours.